the supporter, the boundary respector, and the inspirer. 3 people that you definitely want to surround yourself with. And you honestly want to be one of these people too. So we're going to talk a little bit about what each one of those represents. Welcome to episode 70 of the Positivity Experience, surrounding yourself with people who want to see you elevate. Check it out. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 70 of the Positivity Experience. It's your girl Lori, and ooh, am I excited! The Patreon episode podcasts are out now. By the way, happy May 1st. And what is Patreon, you ask? Let me tell you. That is the, it's going to be like a sister podcast to this one. It's just going to talk about the topics that we talk about. There's going to be some other bonus footage in there, and that is a paid podcast. There's 2 tiers. There's the gratitude tier that's $10 a month, and there is the abundance tier that's $20 a month. Each one has, it has more exclusive features to them. And the abundance one gives you access to the private Facebook group where we discuss topics. And, there's various things. You also have like fan recommendations there where you can like request different things to be covered on the podcast. That's in the $20 tier. There is a $10 tier that gives you amazing things as well. And what this does is it really just helps offset. I am independently produced. So not only do I record, I mix, I master. I also have my bandwidth. So in order to kind of maintain that is, it's very helpful. So it gives you something and it helps offset this. And I'm excited. And how can you find that? If you go over to www.patreon.com, that is where I will be able to send you a link. Well, actually, you can go on there. I don't know that you can search me yet because I just launched it, which means there's no Patreons on there. Sometimes you can't find me. But it is just like this one, the Positivity Experience. I played with some different names, but the subsidiary to it is the Positivity Experience Toolbox. And the reason it's called the Toolbox is because the whole concept of anything that I do is to give you the tools that you need. So why not call it the Toolbox? But it's also going to be here in the show notes. So regardless of where you get this podcast, in the description box, there's going to be a link directly to the Patreon. It's going to be on every one of my social medias in the bios. So if you go to TikTok, you go to Instagram, it's going to be where my little link tree is. There's a link automatically there. You can hit it. You can go right on out to it. And and it's going to be on my website. So there's not going to be a way that you can't find it. I'll constantly be putting it on my Insta stories, different things like that. And my Instagram is official Lori Wheeler. So you have that. But I know a lot of you have asked, when is it going to launch? And why not launch it on May 1st? I'm really super excited. And it just happened to be episode 70. So it just kind of aligned as it should. So again, this podcast here that you're listening to does not change. You don't have to have that one in order to understand this one. None of that has to happen. Now the other one is more of a complement to this one. So as you're listening to the other one, it's always, recommended that you listen to this one so you kind of understand what we're talking about. But that is that. And I'm so excited just because I really love giving you guys as much information as possible. And I really love what I do. And I love doing it for you guys because you guys are amazing. And I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for that. And with that being said, it goes right into today's topic. Think about who you surround yourself with. Right? The whole idea here is to surround yourself with people who are going to want you to get elevated. These are people who want to see you grow. These are people who want to, regardless if they agree with you or not, regardless if they wouldn't respond the way that you're responding, they still want what's best for you. I mean, for you, not to jump in and tell you what they want you to do. Just they want whatever. Hey, if you're happy, I'm happy. If you're selling shells on the beach, I'm happy for you. You know what I mean? And those are your people. The problem that I think people have is, and it's funny because I posted a TikTok on it and, people are like, those people don't exist. I'm like, no, those people don't exist in your life. So you have to understand, and I know that you guys hear me talk about this all the time, the negativity is never going to be your best friend. I understand why people are negative. We have multiple topics on that coming down the pipeline here for the podcast about negativity. But don't say that these people don't exist. They might not exist in your life at the moment, but you need to make sure that you're this person and be persons, because you can be one person and have all three of these qualities, or you can be three separate people and have these qualities. But it's important that you are also doing that same thing regardless of the expectation. That's the kicker, right? Be kind because you're kind. Don't be kind with an expectation, because now that's a little manipulative, right? Because you're like, well, I'll be kind, but you better be kind back. I mean, obviously, you don't have to rock with everybody. If somebody is negative all the time and rude all the time and rude is, rude. I don't even like to use that word sometimes, because what some people consider rude is just this other person's boundaries, right? So I'm a little sketch on even saying that. But for the most part, if something doesn't serve your best and highest good, that's when you release it. But that doesn't mean that you change who you are just because you had a bad experience with a person. And that's where that can become problematic, because you go, well, I had this really bad experience, and because of my bad experience, I'm this way. Understandable, because that's the reason, but you can't stay in that space. That's not okay, right? So let's talk about the three types of people. And remember, you want to be this person for yourself and be this person for people. Again, without expectations. That's the big key. And we're going to really talk about that on the Patreon, about being kind and expectations and dropping them a little bit for this week. But one of the first things that you want to know is the supporter. Like I said, you want a supporter. You want to surround yourself with people who are going to support you without judgment. Okay. So, I mean, I always make the joke, if one of my close friends was like, hey, it's 7:00 and I got the ski masks and I'm ready. I'd be like, okay, let's go. I'm here for it. I mean, we all make jokes about that. But my point to that, and the reason that we say that, is because I'm going to support you because I want to see you grow. I'm not going to hold competition with you. People who are the supporter are literally what that says, support. This does not mean support with what's the word I'm thinking of? Like an expectation, but that's not really the word I'm looking for. But kind of like, well, I'll support you, but I'll support you if, kind of with an agenda, right? Don't support with an agenda. And don't let people say that they support you, but they're only supporting you based on what they feel that the support is. That's not being a support system. No, that's being a controller, a gaslighter, manipulator, but that's not being a supporter. And that's where I think people get mixed up too. You're like, well, this person really stands by me. Yeah, when you fall into alignment with what it is that they want you to do. That's not being supportive, that's being controlling. So a true supporter is if, like I said, if you wanted to start some new venture and the person goes, hey, these are things I'm thinking of. Well, you might say, oh my God, there's a lot of red flags that come up here. There's a lot of concerns I have with this, but don't sit there and just dump it all onto that other person. You don't get to do that. Now, if they ask and say, hey, well, what do you think of this? This is the key. Before you start jumping in and giving your input on how you would handle this isn't about you. A support system is not about what they want. Now, if you say, what would you do? If somebody literally says, well, what would you do? You say, well, for me, that's not really my jam. So I mean, I wouldn't do it. But knowing that you want to do this, absolutely go for it. Right? But don't automatically just be like, well, I mean, I would never do that. I'm sure you know these people. You're literally in the middle of a conversation and, you're like, oh, I went out this weekend and I did iFly. That's that like skydiving thingy inside. And you're like, oh my God, I would just never do that. You're like, okay, well, I didn't ask you if you were coming. I said what I did, and it's funny because that's what people do. And I think some of that is a human nature thing. But when you check yourself and when you stay grounded, it doesn't always have to be about that other person. Meaning, if you say, hey, you know what? I went into the city today. I went into New York and it was so pretty. When I was there in Central Park, we did this, that. Okay. And they go, wow, that's nice. I went last year. And when I went last year, these are the things that I did there. You're like, okay, well, I mean, fine. Didn't ask. You know what I mean? So a good supporter is a person who's going to hear you, who's going to support you, and who will give feedback only when asked for it. So a supporter is definitely a really good foundation. These are people that regardless if they would do it or not, they're going to be there and they're not going to judge it, right? Again, you want to be this person for yourself and for other people. And I know when people say, oh, I support people. Do you though? Like, do you? I'm sure you think you do. And I'm sure you do in many ways. But do you support it if it's something that somebody doesn't totally like get down with? You know, I go out and I hug trees. I go naked moonbathing. If you're like, oh my God, I'd never do that. Okay, well, you don't have to. And you don't even have to rock with me if that's not your jam. But I don't need to hear the naysay because it's not going to affect me one way or another. So be careful when you say that you're supporting someone, and be careful when you say, oh, is this person supporting me? And a good support system doesn't judge it. Okay, so that's one. Number two, this is a big one for me, is a boundary respecter. I know it's not really a word, but we are creating it. It's what I have created. But a boundary respecter, a person who is respecting your boundaries. Okay, and this is important. Okay, because again, it kind of goes hand in hand. And this is why one person can be all three of these things, because they do kind of go hand in hand, right? So a good supporter is going to be like, oh, wow, okay, this person doesn't want to people today, so no need to push it. Okay, so they're going to know that that's a boundary for you. So they're going to respect that boundary. Whether they want to see you that day or not is irrelevant. They're like, oh, man, I'd really like to see this person, but they said that they're not peopling, and I respect that. Not to get all like victim-y, you know what I mean? Like not to go down that road of going, but it's all me. But what about me? I wanted to see that. You know what I mean? So a boundary respecter is a person who, regardless if they like your boundary or not, will absolutely adhere to it. You know, oh, well, why not? That's no, stay in your lane. Why are you asking me why? You're asking me why not? If I just said I'm not peopling, that's enough, right? So someone, and this goes for you guys, right? Because you want everybody to respect your boundaries. You want everybody to support you, but are you respecting other people's boundaries? So even if you don't have that same boundary and you don't align with that boundary, okay, you don't have to love it. But can that person and can you stay in your lane? Okay, you know, no is a complete sentence in my world, right? I'm not going to go through 94 explanations if I say no, because I don't need to. Okay. And nor do you. So a good boundary respecter, and I know a lot of people see this in their family and you go, oh my God, my mom never does this. Okay. Remember, family doesn't get a free pass. I stand by that. Just because somebody is your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your friends, your best friend, your sister, I don't care. They don't get some free pass. And manipulation is if somebody goes, but I'm your mother, or somebody goes, but that's your mother. Okay. That's totally controlling and manipulative. Okay. So, and I say this to you because remember, boundaries are always for you. And in this case, boundaries are always for the other person. Okay. So someone who respects boundaries isn't someone who is just going to walk through and feel like they're entitled to plow through your boundary because they're your best friend or your sister, or your mom, right? Like that's not a thing. And always remember this, a boundary respecter respects boundaries that you hold. And before you say, well, this person, like my mom, say mom's always running through my boundaries. No, she isn't. She is not running through your boundaries. You are giving in and allowing yourself to lower your boundaries. No one runs through boundaries, no one, without your permission. Okay. And of course, I'm saying from an adult perspective, kids don't necessarily have that functionality to process it in their frontal cortex. So when you're in a space, and, you know, we'll go a little bit deeper into it on Patreon where it's like, you know, talk a little bit more about really what that establishment looks like. And, you know, just a couple things to kind of cover on that. But it's really imperative that you understand that no one is rolling over your boundaries. People inherently will, it's natural human nature to kind of want what we want when we want it. I mean, that's honestly, it's like literally part of your critter brain. It's part of your DNA. So you have to be mindful of your own stuff. So if you're the person who goes, oh, I know you said that you're staying here till 2, but we're having so much fun. Don't leave. I mean, that's fine. Like, you know, if you say it once, right? Because you're like, oh my God, we're chilling, we're vibing. Don't leave yet. Cool. And if the person goes, nah, you know, I really got to go. That's it. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't be like, come on, please. Don't be that person. And a person who is not respecting your boundaries, right, will always continue to push if you're not holding them. And they may call you every name under the book. They may call you everything but your first name. They might call you rude and self-absorbed and obnoxious and entitled. And oh God, the word, trust me, the list is endless. But a good supporter and a good person to have around you is a person that you go, nah, I can't make it today. And they go, okay, I'll check you next week. Or you go, nah. And you go, okay. That is what a good boundary respecter does. So always remember, anything that I have ever said to you and ever will say to you is not only to you, but it also pertains to you. So if I'm telling you and asking you to hold your boundaries, I'm also asking you to support and hold, let other people hold their boundaries without question. Your need to know their why is solely based on your insecurity. It's not based, you say, oh, I'm curious. Yeah, why then? Curiosity killed the cat. Okay. So curiosity doesn't always get you fun places. All right. So depending on what their support is for you, right? So a good supporter is automatically going to also respect your boundaries. They really do kind of go hand in hand there. They just do, right? Because if somebody supports you, they're going to understand when you say no or whatever the case may be. So 2 types, remember, supporter, boundary respecter. Third one, love this, the inspirer. You want someone in your life or someone's in your life who inspire you. Okay, so this is where if you are dealing with some levels of insecurity, you haven't worked on your self-love, you will start to feel competitive with people. You will look at Instagram, you will look at something and be like, God, well, why aren't I further along? Or, well, why did they get that? Like, I'm more qualified for that job than they are. Like, this goes all into you. This has nothing to do with anybody else but you. When you cannot sit in competition and you're sitting with inspiration of it, and the people, you are surrounding yourself with people who inspire you. Everything, diet isn't just food. Diet are things that you put in your body and your mind and your spirit, right? So think of it this way. If you watch negative stuff on the news, it's going to be really hard for you to stay positive, right? I'm not asking you not to know what's going on in the news. Don't live there. Don't engage in it. Don't doom scroll. That's not inspiring. Okay? That's going to tear you down. That's not inspiring. What inspires is instead of looking at someone and going, well, I want to do that. Like, how come I can't do that? Instead of looking at it from that perspective, why don't you talk to that person? Why don't you study what that person does? Don't copy them, but study what they do. Take inspiration. Be inspired. So that's where your control, right? You always want to know what you're in control of. And you know the best way to focus on releasing control is to focus on the things that you actually do have control over. Your mindset and what you watch and what you follow. Okay? So inspiring could be somebody on TikTok, YouTube, here on a podcast that can inspire you. That's beautiful. That's what you want to surround yourself with. People and things that inspire you. So what you have to do is you have to check yourself and say, okay, are these people inspiring me? Are these people inspiring me? Are they protecting and not protecting, but respecting my boundaries? Are they supporting me? Or, do I feel better when I'm around these people? Now listen, life is not sunshine and roses. Okay, I'm not going to try to build up some weird expectation that everything in your life is going to be perfect. But when you're good with yourself, you have to be your biggest support system. You have to be your biggest inspirer. And you abso-freaking-lutely have to be your biggest boundary respecter. Right? Every relationship you ever have will be based upon the relationship that you have with yourself. So if you're not holding your boundary, don't get mad at mom for running up through your boundary. Don't be like, well, mom's always doing that. No. You allow that to happen. So before you start blaming other people, well, this person doesn't support me and this person does. Really? Are you supportive? And know this too. Supporting doesn't mean holding your hand through your anxieties and things like that. That's not what I mean by supporter. A supporter is someone who wants the best for you. Okay? A supporter isn't someone who's just going to let you vent to them anytime they feel like it. Absolutely not. That's you overstepping a boundary. You do not get to dump your stuff on anybody at will just because it's your partner, your mom, your dad, your sister, no. No. You are not entitled to just dump your stuff on somebody. Absolutely not. Just here it goes. I don't care what kind of day you had. I've had a bad day. I'm going to dump it on you. Absolutely not. So a good support system, right? When I say a good supporter is a person who you might say, hey, you know what? I have had a really weird off day and I really want to talk about it. Are you in a space to listen to me? Right? Because that's what you would do, right? That's how you set that boundary and how you respect a boundary and how you respect other people's time is, hey, are you in a space to listen to this right now? And they might be like, not really. Like, and listen, if they're never in a space to hear you, then they're not your people. But that doesn't mean that they have to respond to you the moment you want them to. So if you've had a bad day and you just couldn't wait for your partner to get in the house to dump on them fast enough, and they go, I'm not really in a space to hear you. I'll talk to you in a few hours. And then you get upset about it. That's a you issue. That's not a them issue. So when I say a support system, it doesn't mean that they're just going to support you because you're having a bad day in that moment, or that they're just going to allow you to just be any way you want without having any repercussions. No, that is not a support system. Right? Because regardless of what it is that you are going through, you are held responsible for your actions. Okay? I don't care that you had a bad day. I don't care that you're spiraling out of control mentally for 5 minutes when you're angry about something and you lash out at someone and you're spiraling and you're like, and this, and this. And then you try to make excuses for it. Well, I was having a bad day. Okay, not my problem. Right? So when I say be this person for you, the best part of your growth and self-love is to respect other people's boundaries. When you respect other people's boundaries, you are giving yourself that same respect, right? Now, this doesn't mean because you respect somebody's boundaries and you go, but they keep asking me why. You keep entertaining their why. You keep entertaining their questions. Let people talk to an empty space. If they keep pushing your boundary, I am not having this discussion anymore. I said no. I'm hanging up, bye. And maybe you have to put them on ice. Maybe you have to block them for a little bit. Don't answer the phone. Walk away if you need to. All right? This is important. And when you get to that space of knowing these people around you, this is your vibe attracting your tribe. You do not get to say, I want a boundary respecter, an inspirer, and a supporter, and then you're walking around expecting you out of people. Nope. That is hypocritical and that is not how we're rolling. All right. So you have to be able to also practice. This is a 50-50 yin and yang. Okay. And this means that in order to respect yourself, you must respect other people, regardless if they're doing it or not. Because if they keep pushing and they keep doing all that stuff, then you're just gonna have to put like, hey man, like this just isn't working for me. All right. And that's the important factor. Is you can't ask for all these people to be around you. Like, I want to surround myself with positivity, but then you're carrying a level of expectation that somebody should just be there for you at will. And that's not a thing, And this is that important part to understand. People are not responsible for your feelings. Again, as an adult, okay? And before you say, they cheated on me, they did something bad. No, they did an action and they said bad words or they said awful things to you. You create the reaction to it. All right. It's not blaming you. Nobody's blaming you. I'm giving you a subsidiary understanding that people aren't responsible for your feelings. You attach your feelings to things and feelings aren't facts anyway, right? Feelings are never facts. They're your perception, but they're not facts. So understanding that is going to give you so much more space to grow. When you let go of the control and you let go of people needing to do said thing, people having to do said thing because that's how you would do it, when you can release that and see these people around you, when someone, if right now, let's do a scenario. Let's say somebody called you today and said, hey, I'm having a barbecue. It's really nice. It's like 75 degrees outside tomorrow. I'm having this really nice barbecue. Do you want to come? Okay. Now let's say you've had it doesn't matter, rough week, long week. You just want to sit in the couch and watch Netflix or you want to be by yourself. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to be like, oh my God, I would love to. But you know what? I'm just so tired and I think I want to watch Netflix. And oh my God, why are we giving a thesis? No. You say, no, thank you. I'll take a rain check. That's about as much as you need to go. Okay. Now, same thing pertains to the other person. So now you have said, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this person in so long. And I really want to see this person. And you invite them over to your house and they go, no, I can't make it. And they say, rain check. Don't ask them why, please. Please don't go down that roll. Don't Do not go down that road, because that's you trying to overstep it. So again, if you're going to want these 3 types of people around you, you also have to demonstrate these same things, right? And so before you look and you go, okay, well, I don't have these people around me at all. Okay, but are you this person for you? I don't even mean for other people. Are you this person for you, or are you walking through the people-pleasing phase, which we know is a trauma response, which I promise we have a whole topic on that coming. Okay, so, but just keep in mind that you can't please other people while allowing yourself to be your inspirer, your supporter, and definitely your boundary respecter. So these are the types of people that you want to have around you, but can only happen after you are this person for yourself first and foremost, and to your very close circle. Quality far outweighs quantity. Do not tell me you have 10 or 15 great friends. No, you don't. You really don't. You don't have that many great friends. And why would you even want that many great friends? That's a lot. Because a relationship, there is a level, even if it's not a love relationship. Well, there's always love in a relationship, but like intimate relationship. Even if it's not an intimate relationship, there's a level of dedication, not expectation, dedication to that culturing and nurturing that relationship. And in order to do that, you have to understand people don't need to include you in on everything. If you have FOMO, a fear of missing out, that's for you to process. If your 2 friends go out to some winery and didn't invite you, immediately you go into the, oh my God, well, why didn't I get invited? Well, maybe they just didn't want to share some things with you. Maybe it has nothing to do with you. But if you take that personal, that's not their responsibility to process. All right. So this is why your self-love is always your foundation. When you have self-love and you have self-respect and you are able to sit in that space, you are then able to do that for yourself, which is the first person that you want to do that for, is always you. And then because you do that for you, the beautiful thing about that is you don't even have to worry about, well, who do I have to cut out and what kind of boundaries do I need to set? Because you do that automatically for yourself. You will pull back from people, or they'll be like, oh, I don't know. They're just not, I don't know. They're just not my people anymore. And that's okay. That's why your vibe attracts your tribe. So keep in mind that when I say these are 3 people that you want around you, you better be that person or persons for yourself first and foremost, and then also walk the walk, right? If you're going to talk the talk, walk the walk. And this is the important factor, because very often people want these people around them, but they don't want to make the changes to themselves, because a good support system, like a good supporter, will also tell you about yourself. Right. And what I mean by that is if a good support system sees you wearing something that is not super flattering, and you go, hey, how's this look? They go, oh my gosh, you look like shit. That's great. Don't be like, oh my God, that's so hurtful. What? They're being honest with you. Would you rather be like, oh my God, it looks great, and then you go outside and then everybody's like, oh my God, what's she wearing? Right. So I am that person, but I am also the person, if you've ever seen any of my Insta stories, you know, my friends, they are the same exact way as I am when it comes. No, I don't mean they're identical to me. Kim and I are vastly different, but very much the same in many aspects. And she'll be quick to say, what is your problem? And I'll be like, oh God, you're right. You know what I mean? So you need to understand that in order to have that foundational love is going to come from foundations of yourself first and foremost. So know that when you're looking around, and here's a really good exercise for you to do. I want you to look around at, like, say 5 people, 5 close people, right? Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a sister, maybe it's a bestie, maybe it's a mom, whatever. 5 close people. And ask yourself, do they fit into at least one of these categories? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't fit into any of those categories, you really have to reevaluate that. Don't hold on to some relationship because you had it for 20 years. If a person is not a support, like I had described, not a boundary respecter or not an inspirer, why are they in your life? And don't say because it's my mom. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's something that you're telling yourself, I have to do this because it's my mom. If they're not inspiring, if they're not respecting your boundaries and they're not inspiring you and they're not supporting in that fashion, then why are you starving for that relationship? That's the deeper rooted issue. That now can possibly be a trauma bond, which is something else we'll have to work through. Trauma bonding, I promise you, it's on the list to talk about. So keep in mind that, you really are, your vibe really does attract your tribe. And then if you go, okay, well, wait, why am I around, let's say you have 3 people who don't fit in any of those topics, right? Let's say there's 3 and you go, what the hell is wrong with them? There's nothing wrong with them. And it's not that there's anything wrong with you, but this is how you know that A, you're either people pleasing, you're allowing for things to happen, they're not doing it. You're allowing for those kind of behaviors to come into play. The way you respect yourself and the way you love yourself is the way others will respect and love you. And that's just how that is. I don't mean fictitiously. I don't mean by oh my God, I look great today. That's not what I mean. Loving all of you, your flaws, your screw ups, your mess ups, your hiccups, all of those things. When you do that, your vibe of solidarity, your vibe of confidence will attract those like that. Your elevation of the vibration will elevate the people that you surround yourself with. People are not bad. I know people hate to hear that. They're like, yeah, they are. No, people vibrate at different levels. People have bad decisions. People make bad behavior choices, but it doesn't mean that they're bad humans. Not everybody is 100% bad. Right? And so you have to be careful of taking it down that road. And just because somebody doesn't work for you or doesn't align with you, doesn't fit with you, doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that they're not your people. And when you can look at things that way, you can allow people to be who they are with or without your validation, with or without being comfortable with who they are, because you know that they don't even have to be around you. You don't have to be around those people and they don't have to be around you. So an example of that, and this is a pretty big one, if you're constantly negative, okay, constantly negative, complaining and negative, and you find, I keep asking people to do stuff. They don't really want to do stuff with me. I'm not doing anything with you. If you stay negative and you're not working on that negativity, we're not hanging. We're not hanging. Okay. Listen, I was that person. Remember, you know this. I was that person who was constantly negative, constantly, oh my God, I was miserable for years. Constantly. People owe me. What is this? I had a bad life and da-da-da-da. Oh my God. And I tell you, people didn't want to be around me. And valid. If they don't inspire, they're not respecting boundaries and there's not a support system, and that you see that person isn't making changes, right? Because when people start working on themselves, it's going to be hard for them just to go from negative to positive right away. But if you know they're adequately working on it for them, not for you, you're going to be a little bit more tolerable with it. But if you know somebody who's constantly negative, but yet it's never their fault, it's everybody else's issue, why are you spending your energy on this? You can't spend energy on that and then go, well, why don't I have anything positive around me? Because you're allowing this weird behavior to happen. So take inventory and stock on your circle. Okay, take inventory and stock on this circle of yours. And ask yourself, do they fit into one or all, right? They don't have to fit into all 3. One person doesn't have to do all 3. But typically, honestly, they kind of will with a stronger lean towards one. But if you see people who don't fall into any of those categories, you really want to reevaluate yourself. Before you evaluate your circle, evaluate yourself. What is it that you're lacking that you think these types of behaviors of people around you is all that matters? Why? It's not them. It's you. It's not those people. It's you allowing yourself to be in that situation of having that person around you. Okay. So you want to check yourself and go, wait, is my self-love there? Am I totally people pleasing? Have I worked through my trauma? Am I allowing myself not to be a victim of my own past? Am I working towards it? Is it something that I'm doing? If you are, that circle will start to change. It will become smaller and it will also shift. Okay. So that's your homework for the week. I'm going to jump over onto Patreon. We're going to talk a little bit more about it with a little bit of exercise, a couple exercises in there for you. But I love you guys so much. And remember, if it doesn't inspire you, man, let that go. Be a block person. You know what I mean? I block like it's a profession. If somebody comes in negative and hot and you're gone, I just can't, especially on social media. It's an easy block button or unfollow. I don't really deal with political posts or people who are constantly sitting and complaining. I don't necessarily mean I won't unfollow you if I know that this is just a little blip. unfriend you, but I will unfollow you. You know what I mean? Because, it definitely is something that if it doesn't serve, I don't want to surround myself with it because I can't elevate. So true people with a strong support system, their support system will not only pick them up when they fall, they will elevate them. They will pull out the ladder. They will push them up that ladder, not tear them down. Okay? So I love you guys. Go reevaluate your circle. And remember, inspired, boundaried, and supported.